Hello and welcome to the Outdoorsy Educator podcast, where stories become lessons and every journey has something to teach us. Every week I sit down with people from all walks of life to hear their adventures, explore their experiences, and uncover the insights that have shaped them along the way. Whether it's from the outdoors, the classroom, or any other path, each conversation offers a fresh perspective on learning, growth, and what it means to truly connect with the world and the people around us. And on this week's episode of the Outdoorsy Educator podcast, we have REI Guide of the Year 2024 and founder of Trails Diverge, Trish Shales. Trish, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Good, wonderful. Thank you for reaching out. I'm so glad that we've been able to connect. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Trish Shales. My pronouns are she, her, and I am the founder of Trails Diverged. As you mentioned, I was a guide with REI for 4 years. And before that, I worked in wilderness therapy. And I've been guiding for about 6 years now professionally. And my focus is more of an outdoor educator. So I really emphasize beginners and keeping them safe, teaching them about sustainability and leave no trace, and helping them feel confident so that they
Mhm.
want to go back outside again.
I love that. Well, why don't we take this back to the beginning? What first sparked your love of the outdoors and who first invited you into that world?
I grew up outside Detroit, Michigan, so I didn't have a lot of outdoor access. And then as an adult, when I went through college, I saw that there were backpacking trips, and I couldn't afford to take it as a credit class. But what I discovered with some digging was that you could audit a class, which means that you don't get college credit for it, but you can pay a very little amount of money to go on the trip itself. You still do all of the homework and everything, but you just don't get college credit. So I went on a few of those trips when I was in college, and that was really my first time getting outside and getting to do some of these things. And I wouldn't have had access otherwise. So that definitely sparked an interest. And then somewhere in my adult life, I ended up living out in Maryland.
Hmm.
And so I was living very close to the Appalachian Trail, and I did a few hikes on there, and it was just always in my mind. Of course, I read the Bill Bryson book back in college or late high school, and that was on my mind. And I just always had this seed that someday I would do that. And eventually, I decided that someday needed to happen sooner or later. And in 2017, I thru hiked the Appalachian Trail, and a lot of things came up on that trail, but one of them was that I need to have a life outdoors and my life needs to be based outdoors, and I need to figure out a way to make that happen. So,
I love that. Listeners of this podcast will know that one of several anchors of what I talk about with guests inevitably is the Appalachian Trail. I've day hikes and a couple of overnight hikes on it. I've been to the Trail Days Festival and connected with a lot of
yeah.
people through the AT. And like you, that was really sparked by reading A Walk in the Woods. And it's a book that I listen to time and time again because it's just I find it's hilarious, it's inspiring, it's all the things I want it to be. Um,
Absolutely.
I'd love to. I've got so many questions for you, but I thought, what better place to start than with the mission statement that's on your website? Because I think this leads to a lot of questions. And I'll just read it quickly. You've written that we believe everyone has the right to explore and experience the great outdoors. We also know that having the right gear, knowledge, and access can be restricted by financial barriers. We are working to remove these barriers by providing gear and guiding services to engage income restricted youth. Now, this speaks to my heart, my wife's heart. This is we work with in education what are known as Title One schools, usually low income schools. So this really will speak to our heart. And I was wondering what really drove that that demographic for you to work
Yeah.
with.
Absolutely. Well, I think with most people that have kind of a personal mission, it's personal, right? Something that you've experienced or you've seen in your surroundings, in your environment. And like I mentioned, I didn't have that access growing
Mhm.
up. So, I worked really hard, I've always worked multiple jobs simultaneously and got a lot of scholarships to go to college, but I would have never been able to do that. Financially. And I never would have been able to experience the outdoors financially if I hadn't discovered that loophole of auditing a class. And um, so I really didn't have most of my outdoor experiences until I was an adult.
Mhm.
And they changed my life so drastically that I want people to be able to have that experience at a younger age so that they can embrace that. There's so much, and now there's actually science to prove, right, that there's healing that's happening in nature. Before we just thought we were, mentally escaping all of our emails and our pings and everything, and that was kind of decompressing. But now there's actual science that shows, trees send
Mhm.
out chemicals that actually change our physiology, right? And so we are finding out more and more that this isn't just woo-woo, right? Like this is
Right.
real. And a lot of people don't have access to that. And there's some research, and I can't remember the exact statistics, but how many people don't even live within a range of being able to access a park, just a nature park, not even like getting out in the forest or getting out in the desert, like can't even go to a park. We have so many fees. You have your $10, our state parks here just increased to $10 per day for a parking fee. So not only do you have to have the transportation to get to the park, you then have to pay the $10. And for a
Right.
lot of people, $10 is, oh, no big deal. But for many
Hmm.
people, that is completely out of reach. $10 is, half your grocery budget for the week.
Absolutely.
And there's just like a vast gap there of um, understanding of how many people are restricted by those entry fees.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they did have $10, it might not be a top priority because, as you said, it's
Exactly.
groceries, it's putting fuel in the car, it's all of those things.
And that doesn't
Survival.
even include like all of the gear you need to go out and now do that activity. Most people, myself included, could not afford the $1,000 you have to spend to get backpacking gear just to try it and see if you like it. And you don't even know if you're going to like it. So why would that be a priority for you in your budget? It's just unattainable for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can spend a ridiculous amount of money especially when you don't really know what you need. You think you need A, B, and C. I've talked to several people who are looking at gear libraries and trying to create those in their local area. And also to touch on a point that you've brought up, I've also spoken to it's more and more people who work in the mental health field who are offering outdoor therapy, outdoor classes instead of sitting in an office. They're going for a quarter mile, a half mile walk in nature. And the research is starting to be developed and show it is, as you said, it's not just woo-woo. There's science, that there is actually something there. And the brilliant thing I like is even if there wasn't something scientific, just feedback from people is I prefer this. I find that I can open up, and that
Exactly.
that's enough. But there is actually something chemical and scientific going on. And one of the therapists I spoke to for this podcast talked about using nature as a metaphor, and it made it easier for people to open up and understand what perhaps they are going through. And I think
Yeah.
that's a really, really beautiful thing.
Yes, yeah. My trail family and I definitely have a lot of metaphors surrounding Mother Nature, and some of them, climbing to the top of a mountain, especially on the AT, where you're often socked in and it's often raining. There's so many times that you climb and you put in so much work and sweat equity, and you get to the top and there's no view. It's fog, and you have worked so hard to get this reward of the view at the top, and it's not there. And that can be extremely disappointing for people. And
Hmm.
I also think it's a metaphor for life, right? Sometimes we work so hard for something with this great expectation. And what we choose to do when that expectation isn't achieved, um, is the same as on trail, right? Like you can pout,
Right.
you can stomp your feet, you can turn back around and say, I'm never going back there again. Or you can try again, or you can keep going and see if you get a view the next time. It's just all part of it.
I love that. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's how you view it and how you handle it that's going to make the difference. So I wanted to ask you about Trails Diverge because I think if you have a passion for, helping people access the outdoors, access the wilderness, you might look for a charity, a company, something that's doing it. You decided to do this on your own and to found Trails Diverge. What made you make that decision?
Yeah, so I always knew that I was going to have some sort of nonprofit. And I am in the process. I am trying to get a gear library going, by the way.
Oh,
And
right.
I'm stuck in the paperwork process right
Yep.
now to have officially a nonprofit, but that's what's in my heart, right? I was working for REI Experiences, as I mentioned, as a guide,
Hmm.
and they closed nationwide about a year and a half ago. And I had the opportunity then and there to purchase all of the guiding gear from them. So
Wow.
I went out, pled the case, got a huge business loan, bought all the gear, and so now I have all of the things. I have the kayaks and the paddle boards and the backpacking setups and everything. I have so much stuff. And so the guiding portion, I'm mainly working with like community colleges and things like that, right? I do have a giant business loan that I have to pay somehow.
Right. Right.
However, the ultimate goal is to be able to get more people out for free. And what I do is I offer free events multiple times per month. So I do free bike rides on Mondays. I do free community group walk runs on Tuesdays. And then I did like a collaboration with our local Pride Alliance to do a full moon hike. I've done some BIPOC group stuff. And so each month we kind of rotate what we're doing, but we always have the bike rides and the walks so that we have an opportunity to get people out and see what the community needs are, and then create trips based around those. So
I love that perspective that you're not just saying, hey, we're doing all this wonderful stuff, come to us, but you're obviously listening and got your finger on the pulse of what the community needs, which I think is such a key component that could be overlooked.
absolutely.
Yes. Now, I was thinking about the people who will come to you for the first time, and what's some of the biggest fears that beginners may carry into their first hike, their first wilderness experience, and how do you help move people from fear to confidence?
Yes. I'll use a backpacking trip as an example because I think that's the one where it's most palpable. So I'm meeting these people for the first time and I pick them all up and I'm distributing gear and everybody brings their personal items. Everything else is provided. And they're afraid of being cold or hot or having too much stuff. They're afraid of not having enough to eat. They're afraid of bears and other
Hmm.
wildlife, afraid of getting lost. And so there's all of this like static. Like it really is palpable. They're like, what about this? What about this? What about this?
Yep.
And you can see the nerves and you can feel it. And as they're packing and deciding what to bring and what to leave behind, and their packs are huge because they're trying to bring everything. And that's going on you. You're
Right.
carrying it.
We're not carrying this
Um,
for you.
yeah. And I would say as we progress, a lot of those things are alleviated, right? Because I go through what to do if there's a bear. I tell them what I'm going to do and what they're going to do. And we talk through that process, right? And there's still nerves there because it's the unknown. This is something I've never experienced before. I've never seen a bear. I've never heard a bear, but I know they're out there. And I see these stories on the internet about what they do. And so all of these things are bubbling. And one of the other big fears is I can't do this. So a lot of
Hmm.
people come in with I can't do this. And immediately when we start walking with our heavy packs on our backs, there's I don't think I can do this. I think I might need to turn around. And at that point, we take a break, we talk through things, we get some water, we get some food, and we start moving a little more. And um, it's extremely common. I mean, you're using muscle groups that you've never used before. You're using stabilizer muscles that you're not used to activating, and you've got a pack on your back that you're not used to carrying. And a lot of people have that. I don't think I can do this. So with our beginners trips, we keep them really short. So it's not very much mileage. And the goal there is to show you you can do this. And now you're at camp. And now we're going to have this delicious food and we're going to see this amazing view and we're going to kick our feet up. And um, so I think oh, I see fears about water. There's just so much. And as we go and as people see that, yes, I can do this, and I trust my guide because I can see like she has actually researched this thing. I explain what are we doing if there's a wildfire, right?
Hmm.
I spend so much time researching our routes beforehand. I have escape routes planned and I show them this. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. If there's a fire, if there's emergency, this is our fastest way out. And a lot of people don't come with map reading experience, map and compass experience, but seeing that they can see that I have a plan and that I've thought this through and
Hmm.
that I have all this giant medical kit with everything you can possibly think of, you can see them start to relax and then they start learning. And as they start learning and they start trying new things, you can see them get more excited and less fearful. And they start trying things like filtering their own water. And then there's like micro successes of like, I did this. And then there's another micro success. Like I climbed that hill. Look how far we just walked up, right? And so they have this visual representation of how hard they just worked and how much they accomplished. And it's surrounding them. And then they're rewarded with beauty, So um, it's it's a lot. Like
It's
I'm
not
trying to
bad.
condense, but it's just amazing. It's so amazing.
And I love that. I love micro success. I'm going to steal that from you and use that in all walks of life because that's a great phrase, one that I'll be using. I imagine a lot of these people are, they're naturally looking to you to be the leader and looking for strong leadership. And something I was curious about was how your leadership style has changed. I assume the first time you took out a group of people, there was probably some nerves, and you probably reflect on that and think, I would have maybe done this a little differently or that a little differently. How has your leadership style and your guidance changed?
Yeah, I would say it's constantly changing, right?
Hmm.
And I had the fortunate experience of when I first started guiding, being with some amazing co-guides and a culture of feedback. And feedback can be extremely challenging for people to give and accept. And I will always be working on that because we tend to take feedback really personal, right? And get defensive. And I'm saying we as just like a generalization of a human, right? Like there's something wrong with me. No, there's not necessarily something wrong with me, but is there something I can do better? Is there a way that I can grow? And when I'm teaching new guides, what we talk about with feedback is before we say something, are we saying it because we're annoyed with the person and we don't like something that they did because it's not the way that we would do it? Or are we saying it because maybe there was a safety issue or a discomfort and doing something a little bit different or considering changing something would benefit everyone? And so that's kind of the cutoff line of whether you decide to give feedback or not. Like, is this just because I'm irritated, or is this actually important and could help people? And so we give feedback among ourselves as guides constantly. And I received a lot of really great feedback when I was growing, when I was a baby guide, and that's definitely shaped me. And I also encourage my clients to give feedback. And I can tell you that some of the changes that I've made, so when I was working for corporations,
Hmm.
I didn't have as much leeway, right? There was certain things I had to do certain ways, and there was a lot of things I couldn't change. What I love about working for myself is I can change something immediately. If something's not working, there's no red tape. Like, this is what we're doing. We're changing this. This
Right.
didn't. And an example would be I mentioned I do full moon hikes, right? And I always tell people these are for beginners, right? So we have people, I had somebody that was on their first hike ever and chose to come on a night hike a few months ago under the full moon. And so, although we cater for beginners, we also often attract people that are more experienced. And so we have a great divide in pace and endurance levels on
Hmm.
these trips. And this was something I had when I was working with corporations where we would get feedback where one group of people is saying, we go way too slow. Why do we take so many breaks? Like, let's go. We want our exercise. And then we have another group of people saying, we went too fast. I barely got a break. Like, I felt like every time I caught my breath, we were going again. Right. And so my first full moon hike of this season, I received that same feedback. Both sides, too fast, too slow, too many breaks, too few breaks. And it's easy for a corporation to be dismissive of that, right? That's just the way it
Yes.
is. We told you it was a beginner trip. You just have to deal with it. And I sat with that and thought about it and said, there's no reason why we can't split into different pace groups. We always have a minimum of two guides for safety. So each group can be with a guide, and
Hmm.
we have radios so that we can communicate with each other throughout the hike. We're on the same trail. We both know the trail like the back of our hand. There's no reason we can't split into pace groups. So that's what we're doing now. And um, yeah, so I guess
Yeah.
that's an example of how my leadership has been able to change and evolve when I don't have as many like barriers to changing my leadership style.
I love that. I was just thinking this literally happened 2 hours ago. I do another podcast for fun. A friend and I review Friends episodes from the TV show. And I released an episode earlier this week. I didn't realize the audio cut out in the middle for a
Oh
little
no.
bit. So a friend of mine, a good friend, and that's important to know, he's a really good friend, reached out, and we talk all the time about podcasting and things. And he was like, "Oh, please take this. Don't take this the wrong way. Please, 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 take this the right way." But you couldn't hear what was being said for a chunk of this podcast, so I had to skip forward. And it was funny. We had to just have this very brief conversation where I had to say to him, "Look, I know if you ever say something like that to me, it's solution orientated. You're looking out for
Yeah,
me. You're looking out for the podcast. It's not a criticism." But yeah, it's very interesting giving feedback. It's what angle is the person giving the feedback from, and are you in a place you are not going to get defensive, which is a struggle, but in
yeah,
a place where you can absorb it because you know they're actually looking out for you. They want you to be even better and help you out. And I just hadn't realized it's not like I knew it was bad and just released it anyway. So I was really thankful for that constructive, positive feedback because I knew where he was coming from.
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, it was just funny that that just happened this morning. I'd like to pivot just a hair to the left. You volunteer with the Pacific Northwest Search and Rescue. This
Yeah.
is a world I know nothing about. I can imagine, but I really don't know. I'd love to know what drew you to that and what it kind of involves as a volunteer.
Yeah. So I first got involved with a different search and rescue organization. I was living in Minnesota, and I just saw a social media post like, hey, we need help. This person's missing. Anybody that can come look, come look. And I went out a few times for that organization, and that was very grassroots, and there was no formal like search and rescue team. And then as my life as a guide, I was moving around a lot. I've lived in a lot of different states, and it was always in the back of my mind that I really wanted to get on a search and rescue team. Um, and it was really difficult because there's an extreme amount of time commitment for training out here in the West.
Hmm.
It's a lot different than Minnesota. Minnesota is flat. I was walking through cornfields, walking around rivers, and out here we have much different terrain that is not as forgiving as a cornfield.
Yes.
And so they have a very strict training regimen. And I read through everything and needed to get to a point in my life where I could commit to that time commitment. And so I finally got there and was able to go through it, and I love it. It's amazing, the most amazing group of humans that you'll ever meet. These people, middle of the night, Christmas, snow, rain, it doesn't matter. These people are there for you. And getting to be involved with a group like that, being surrounded by people that truly care and truly want to help and are willing to commit to all of this training to be extremely prepared and be able to be helpful is just like I have chills just thinking about it. Like it's amazing. It's an amazing group of people.
I was just thinking, I imagine, as you said, it can be, it can be tough, time, day, night, holidays,
Exactly.
but you must see the best of humanity.
You absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I
That,
mean, yeah.
yeah, like, I mean, and I think we can all do with that from time to time.
Yeah,
The world is not a bad place. There are wonderful people out there, and
there are.
I'm sure, I imagine it's kind of bucket filling, as tough as it might be physically and emotionally at times, also incredibly fulfilling volunteer work.
Yes, and I think a lot of us have a lot of outdoor skills that we've accumulated through various experiences, and this is like the opportunity to put those to use for like a really good cause, and
Hmm.
actually be helpful in making a difference in the world with all of these random skills that we've accumulated that don't translate to desk jobs or anything else,
Right,
right?
right. No, I love it. How do you stay calm when everyone else is anxious, worried, panicking? I'm sure that maybe internally you've had some sort of freak out moments, but when you're leading a group, you have to have a persona and stay calm. What helps you stay in that right mindset?
Um, I guess I can't think of one little thing, but knowing that I am the one taking care of people, is very, you just got to get it done. I don't know.
Right?
I can't
Yeah.
think of like one characteristic, but I can say, there's definitely been situations where people are really anxious, and I can feel that like rumbly energy. And
Hmm.
I can definitely say that inside my head, I've got 500 tabs open. And that's at all. That's not just guiding or search and rescue or anything like that. That's always, right?
Right?
There's a lot of tabs open and they're all running at once. And when I'm guiding, I'm constantly risk assessing. Like, I'm super hyper aware of all of my surroundings, the river crossings coming up, this, the I heard a noise. There's this. I'm just like thinking about that person in the back that told me about their old ankle injury from 1999. Like there's so many things that I'm thinking about at all times. Um, I don't know. I don't know, but
Yeah.
I do get a lot of feedback that like people can't, they're like, you're always so calm. And so I know that even internally, if I'm thinking about all of those things, I do stay calm on the outside, and that's reassuring to other people, and that brings their level of anxiety down. But I don't have an answer as to the how or the
Oh no,
why.
it perfect. I can relate to it. If I need to do something for myself, like be calm in a situation, I find that much tougher than if somebody else needs me to be calm. I'm not sure
Yeah.
quite what the terminology would be for it, but when I need to do it for somebody else, I find it a little easier. I'm not quite sure why. I can't find the words either. Um, it's an interesting phenomenon though, when you need to do it for a group. Maybe it's the teacher
Absolutely.
in me. If I find it a little easier. As we kind of round the corner here to the home stretch, I've got three questions that I always ask my guests, unprompted. And the first one is about success. We all want to be successful, whatever that looks like and whatever that means. And I was curious, as it related to your journey from school and guiding, how your definition of success has changed.
Oh, yeah. Um, Absolutely. So. I had a little bit of a thought when I was on the Appalachian Trail about how, and I was 33, I think, when I was hiking, how I thought that at that point in my life, I would be a doctor and I would have this and I would have that. And I was nowhere near that point in my life. And it's easy to beat yourself up when you haven't met those expectations that you set for yourself.
Hmm.
And um, I think that uh, I'll throw it back to the micro successes, right? Like we tend to
Right.
get focused, hyper fixated on these big things that we have or have not achieved and overlook all of the little things that we've achieved. And now to be completely to be honest, I kind of had the thought that when REI experiences closed, all of these people had their trips canceled. And I thought, well, I've got all the gear, I've got all the guides, so I'm just going to hop right in. They'll come on my trips. And I completely neglected that nobody knows we exist. And so it did not quite turn out that way. And it's been a real struggle getting the word out. And um, I have been wrestling for a while with some of the tough decisions, right? Of can I do this? Can I carry this on? This has not turned out the way that I had hoped it would by now. And I was doing some organization, and of course, we have a liability waiver that people have to fill out. And um, I was looking at my stack of liability waivers, which is, this thick, and that's been a year and a half. And I was like, I need to have gratitude for this. Like, this is
Mhm.
how many people that got outside that I got to interact with that had their first experience outside, and I was able to help them have a good experience and walk alongside them, and make sure that like they enjoyed their time outdoors and that they wanted to do it again. And had I not taken this incredibly huge risk, those people may not have gotten outside. And so, while I would love to say that like I've been a booming success immediately, all of these people came on trips with me, that's not true. That didn't happen. But what did happen is that the small groups of people that have gone out, had that opportunity that they may not have had otherwise. And that's success, right? And so I had to kind of reframe that. And I think that we constantly have to reframe success, or else we'll constantly be disappointed,
Right.
right? Because we
Exactly.
have big dreams, we have big plans. We're humans. We want like all of these things in life. And we only have so much time. So doing the most with the time that we have and making it count is success.
I love that. I'm thinking of this stack of papers, the waivers
Yeah,
and how many of those people have or will have children that they maybe take out and the child is apprehensive and they will reflect back on
exactly.
their time with you and that legacy that you are leaving by doing the work that you are doing.
Exactly. And they know how to be safe and they know how to poop in the woods. They know all these
Yep.
things that they wouldn't have known. And now they get to pass it on to other people. So,
I love that. So you've mentioned at the beginning of this podcast a walk in the woods, a staple of the outdoor community.
yeah.
That could be your answer here, but I was wondering what book has been most impactful on your life. It might not be the greatest book or the best book, but one that you kind of go back to either to read or back in your mind time and time again.
Hmm. Um, that's a good one. I'm a pretty big reader,
Hmm.
so there's a lot of books that have impacted me. I will say that one that comes to mind right now, well, two, I guess. The Alchemist is a, fabulous book, and The Four Agreements is one that I constantly go back to, because I think that that one is a good one to reframe your life when you think about. Especially not taking things personal. Anybody that has a lot of anxiety, social anxiety, or anything really. Like you can really take things personal and it can eat away at you. And so going back to that book, I find myself to almost be a different person when I am in the wilderness than I am in society, right? Because in the wilderness is where I feel at home and I feel like myself, and I'm stinky and I'm dirty and nobody cares and I'm just self-sufficient, and then we come in back into society and we have all these other people's expectations placed on us and we have to appear a certain way. And I think that can be like a tug of war of wrestling with like who you are and the input that you get from other people. And so that one is one that I reread on a, every couple years basis. I'm also struggling to think of one of the books that the title, but there's a World
Hmm.
War II book about retaining hope and when there is no hope to be found, and how do you find that hope when it doesn't exist? And so I think that, do you know which one? It's Viktor Frankl, but I cannot think of the title right now.
I don't, but I'm going to look it up.
It's just escaping me. I need more coffee. But there's a lot. But yes, Walk in the Woods gets a lot of negative feedback from people, but
Right.
I will honestly say I don't know that if I ever would have heard of the Appalachian Trail if I hadn't read that book. So
Y- Yeah, I find myself defending it from time to time.
yes,
I collect copies of it. It's got different jackets on
yep,
depending where around the world it was released. So if I ever travel somewhere, I'm always looking for a new cover
yeah,
and collect them because I love it, and it's not meant to be this definitive guide. It's not meant, it's I don't know. I don't quite understand the
yeah.
criticism of it.
I
Um,
was like that with the Stephen King, the Dark Tower series. I love that series,
yes.
and I would pick up every garage sale copy. So I had all of these different copies. I had this dream of having a big library someday. But then I moved into a van, and you can't have that many books in the van. So I had to cherry pick my favorite ones to keep, and it's just a very small stack now.
Yes, everything's on the Kindle. Is it Man's Search for Meaning? That's the
Yes,
one. All right, that's a
thank
yes.
you.
Absolutely. Didn't want to leave you or the listeners hanging. Um, my final question for you is, if you could have anybody in the world, this could be famous, not famous, somebody you know, somebody you don't know, somebody dead, somebody alive, anyone who's ever existed, sign up for one of your hikes and you get to guide them
Oh,
through the wilderness. Who would you like to take with you?
oh my goodness.
Again, you may have lots of answers, but who comes to mind? You get to pick
Oh
their
man.
brain. You get to ask them whatever it is you would like to ask. Free range, you and this person out for a day.
I think I would take Steve Irwin because I could learn so much from him. Can you imagine how amazing that would be?
He's probably one of the few people you could go for a 10-mile hike with and come out more energized than you went in.
I know, and we'd probably be there all day because he would teach me so much.
Right, that's a
Can you imagine? Like
brilliant.
every couple feet, he'd probably have something to show me.
That's an incredible answer. I think that would be a fantastic day. I love it. Well, as we round this up, where can people find you if they want to ask you questions about what it is you do, about search and rescue, about Trails Diverged, anything like that? How can people reach out to you?
Yes, absolutely. So trailsdiverge.com, trailsdiverge@gmail if you want to shoot me an email. And I do have a lot of free resources on that website as well. I'm going to put my plug in to always take your 10 essentials, even if you're going on a day hike. And that is coming from the search and rescue volunteer in me and the guide in me. Please take your 10 essentials. If you don't know what those are, you can check out the link on my website. It's free and you can learn and be safe.
I love it. Well, Trish, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for spending this time with me this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you again to this week's guest, and I hope today's episode was as enjoyable for you as it was for me, and perhaps even inspired your next adventure. If you did enjoy the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or follow us wherever you get your podcasts. You can find more information at theoutdoorssyeducator.com or follow us on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook. Until next time, thank you so much for listening to the Outdoorsy Educator podcast.